Hello and welcome to the Monty Collier Report. I'm Monty Collier. We're about to publish the second volume of the Monty Collier Report. If you'd like to have the first and second volumes in published form, then send me an email and I'll send one right out to you. In this segment of the Monty Collier Report, we're going to be examining a theological paper written by recently elected Governor of Louisiana, Bobby Jindal. This theological paper was written in December of 1996, and it was published in the New Oxford Review. Bobby Jindal argues in this paper that the Roman Catholic Church isn't just a Christian denomination, but rather it is the only church in Christianity. He also goes on to make it known clearly that Protestantism is heretical and leads to anarchy. Today we're going to examine these arguments that Bobby Jindal puts forth, and we're going to demonstrate from the Bible alone that he doesn't have a clue as to what he's talking about. As I said a moment ago, Bobby Jindal has recently been elected governor of Louisiana. While he was running for this position, the Democratic Party put forth an attack ad claiming that Bobby Jindal wrote a paper, the paper we're going to be examining today, which claimed that the Roman Catholic Church is the only true church in Christianity and that the Protestant churches are heretical and all lead to anarchy, the Protestant teachings. Now, the Democratic Party was using this ad to inform Protestants that they should not vote for Bobby Jindal because he does not respect any religion other than the Roman Catholic Church. Now, Jindal and his Republican buddies want to just simply dismiss this Democratic attack ad as a smear tactic. However, if you read this paper by Jindal, the one thing he makes absolutely clear is that the Roman Catholic faith is the only true faith, and that the Protestant faith is heretical and leads to anarchy. He calls it scandalous, and we'll observe in his paper, from his own words, these very things. Another thing that Jindal makes perfectly clear in his paper is that he is submissive to the authority of the Roman Catholic magisterium. And when you make this claim, you're not just simply saying that you're submissive to the theological teachings of the Roman Catholic Church, but you're also saying that you are submissive to the political and economic teachings of the Roman Catholic Church. And these have enormous consequences, especially in politics. Let me just give you an example in history. When John F. Kennedy was elected president, of course he was Roman Catholic, but he made it perfectly clear that he would not be submissive to the Vatican in matters of government. He stated clearly for everybody to hear that he would enforce the law of the land, the United States Constitution, and would not pay heed to Vatican influence. The reason this was important for Kennedy to make sure everybody knew that he was not going to enforce the teachings of the Vatican, but rather enforce the United States Constitution, is simply because the teachings of the Vatican are diametrically opposed to our United States Constitution. Back then, many people in the United States were well aware that Roman Catholicism opposes freedom of speech, freedom of the press, separation of church and state, freedom of religion. Roman Catholicism opposes public education, and it even opposes habeas corpus. One need only read Pope Pius IX's Syllabus of Errors to see all of this clearly demonstrated with papal authority. The Vatican has officially referred to the Democratic Republic of this country and its United States Constitution as the heresy of Americanism. Indeed, the Vatican has a long history of opposing democratic republics. The fact that they supported Franco, Hitler, and Mussolini all in this 20th century attests to this fact. So many people in the United States were aware of this history, and they were very concerned that John F. Kennedy may be susceptible to the Vatican control and political influence that they wield over many of the nations even still today, especially third world nations that are Roman Catholic. And Kennedy had to come out and reassure the American people that he would not be under the political and economic authority of the Roman Catholic Church. He made it very clear that his allegiance, first of all, was to the United States Constitution. Kennedy, of course, would be assassinated by a Roman Catholic. In fact, all of our presidents have been assassinated by Roman Catholics, and this is quite an interesting fact of history that you don't hear much about. Nevertheless, when Roman Catholic politicians are running for office, and they make it perfectly clear that they are submissive to the authority of the Roman Catholic magisterium, then voters have the responsibility to find out if this individual running for office is going to be submissive to the Vatican in matters of politics and economics, or to the United States Constitution. Well, with all that being said, let's go ahead and begin our examination of this article written by Bobby Jindal. The very first statement that he makes in the article is false. Let's just examine this proposition. Jindal, he writes, "The Catholic Church leaves little room for complacent opposition to her doctrines." Well, this is a false statement. Anybody who has studied the Holy Inquisition, the history of the Inquisition, the history of persecution that the Roman Catholic Church has engaged in through the years, knows good and well that the Catholic Church doesn't tolerate any opposition to her doctrines, especially her main teachings. Catholic society, Catholic culture, a Catholic government under the submission of the Roman Catholic magisterium. If you oppose their teachings, you may very well disappear, never to be seen again. There's a good chance you'll be tortured and turned over to the government for execution. This is exactly what Roman Catholics taught. It's what they believe now. It's what they teach. To prove this is what they teach today, I'll just simply quote from their angelic doctor, Dr. Thomas Aquinas, right from his Summa Theologica. Let's hear the quote. Aquinas writes, and I quote, "On the part of the Church, however, there is mercy which looks to the conversion of the wanderer, wherefore she condemns not at once, but after the first and second admonition, as the Apostle directs. After that, if he is yet stubborn, the Church, no longer hoping for his conversion, looks to the salvation of others by excommunicating him and separating him from the Church, and furthermore, delivers him to the secular tribunal to be exterminated, thereby from the world by death." This is from Aquinas' Summa Theologica, Volume 3, Question 11, Article 3, the third article titled, "Whether Heretics Ought to be Tolerated." Find it on page 1220. Published by Christian Classics, a division of Thomas More Publishing, Allen, Texas. So it turns out that Jindal's first statement in this paper is false. Aquinas sets the record straight. The official Catholic teaching is that there is no room for opposition when it comes to the doctrines of the Roman Catholic Church. You do what they say, or they can turn you over as a heretic to the government to be tortured and killed. Continuing now with Jindal's first paragraph, we come across another false statement. Let me go ahead and read it for you. Quote, "For we do worship the same Trinitarian God who died for our sins." End quote. This is a false statement, and this is a typical Catholic ploy to try to establish a common ground with Protestants in order to suck them into their heresy. But the fact of the matter is, we do not worship the same Trinitarian God. The Trinity which Calvinists worship is a Trinity that absolutely predestines all things. The Trinitarian God that Calvinists worship is a God who chooses some to be saved, the elect, and chooses not to save others, the reprobate. This is something that Roman Catholics do not believe. They believe in a Trinitarian God who desires all men to be saved, yet cannot save all men, because the Trinitarian God of the Roman Catholics, his desires are not omnipotent. He cannot accomplish what he wants to do. So the free will of men in Roman Catholicism limits the omnipotent desire of God. Of course, this is absurd, but it demonstrates that they're worshiping a different God than the God the Calvinists worship. Our God is powerful and can accomplish whatsoever he desires. Furthermore, Roman Catholicism teaches that the second person of the Trinity came to earth and died for all people who will ever live, every single one of them, whereas Calvinism teaches that Jesus Christ died only for his people, the elect. This is a huge difference, and once again it shows that definitionally we are not worshiping the same God that Roman Catholics worship. So this statement is false that Jindal makes in the first paragraph.